super excited to have Heather with us today. So just so everyone knows, I've personally worked with Heather, and I think that she is a miracle worker. So I'm sharing, this is not Heather's official introduction and bio. I'm sharing, to me, the magic that I see in her. Money archetypes itself are not necessarily exclusive to Heather, but what is magical about Heather, because you may find other people who talk about money archetypes out there, other coaches. And in my opinion, and I've worked with some of those coaches, they come to you from a coaching and a mindset, and almost sometimes a willpower type of approach. But Heather is also a certified body code and emotion code energy healer. And she's also a Tony Robbins coach. So she's been trained by Tony Robbins and all of that. She's also, you can find her on, if you're a foodie, Cupcake Wars. She owned one of the first big gluten-free bakeries and was on Cupcake Wars years and years ago. So she has also all of this amazing nutrition and health kind of background to her. And she puts it all together, and she ties all of her energy healing towards these money issues that we have, these money blocks. And for me, energy healing has been really a newer thing. And looking at all of the stuck financial trauma and emotions and things like that are stuck in your body that are keeping you trapped. And so if you find, especially as an entrepreneur, where money is a big part of what we're involved in, you're getting stuck in these same patterns over and over and over again, and you've tried to willpower yourself out of them, a lot of times that means, oops, you got something stuck, and you're going to have to move that energy. And you can try to figure it out yourself, but it's actually a lot easier to find someone else who's already skilled and able to do that for you. So she's really amazing at tying both this mind-based stuff to your energy and putting the two together. And I have not seen that with any other money coach, where they can actually help you with the energetic movement of it. And so that's why I wanted to bring her here, because I know I've had money blocks. The work she's done on me has actually released and really helped me take some big leaps and bounds. And I want her to be able to help you guys as well. But of course, it does all start with understanding who we are, what our patterns are, what our archetypes are, before we can even start that healing process. And that's what she's going to talk to us today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the amazing Heather Esposito, who actually, if you follow her, you may see her hanging upside down from silks from the ceiling. Also, another kind of crazy thing she does, which amazes me. But yeah, Heather, it's all yours.
Oh my gosh, can I have you just come to my every day, Crystal? And it's so nice when you have people saying and you hear yourself from somebody else's perspective. I so appreciate that so much. Thank you. And I'm so excited to be here and seeing people put in the comments where you're from, but also who you are in the archetypes. And we're going to dive in, and there's so much for me to cover that I will probably talk fast. I'm originally from New Jersey. I know I saw Amy in there, said she's in Jersey. I'm originally a Jersey girl, so I talk fast. So there's a lot of stuff I'm going to throw at you today. We're really not even going to get into the energy stuff, because as Crystal said, it's really helpful to know and have the foundation of knowing who you are first. And so I'm just going to share my screen and we'll dive in. I am a visual girl, so I am a PowerPoint person. So let me just get these on, and they always change how to share these. I feel like every time I come on, the way to present is always different. Okay. Y'all can see that. I have a head nod. Somebody got it. Okay, awesome. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is the 3 things that prevent people from aligning with the energy of money, the connection between money and your nervous system, and the 8 sacred money archetypes, signs of how their nervous system is dysregulated and what their big lesson is with money. I'm just going to go through this real fast. As Crystal said, I have a master's in counseling. I was a holistic health coach, a natural food chef. I opened up this gluten-free, allergen-friendly bakery in 2010. So I've been on a bunch of shows, transitioned into coaching where I worked for Tony Robbins for a couple of years, got into energy work and left Tony Robbins because I was like, this mindset stuff is not where it's at. We really got to get deep into the nervous system and into the energy and into the body. So I'm a hypnotherapist, do energy healing, nervous system stuff, somatic work, parts, inner child work. So combining all of those things, like Crystal said, and it's so, so, so important. So I want to dive in first with just a little share in the chat of what's one word that describes your current relationship with money. And hey, Tasha. Oh, so fun to see you here. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what is your current relationship with money? How would you describe that in one word? So we got freedom, conflicted, uneven. And I know this is a topic that is like, ugh, some of us don't want to share this stuff. So I get it. If you don't want to, you don't have to at all. Complicated, changing, anxiety, love now, comfort is strange, chasing anxiety. Oh, we got some love it's. So we have the whole spectrum, and love saving some. Yeah. Um, we all run the whole spectrum of where we are in our relationship. And so I want to know now, what would be one word to describe your desired relationship with money? So what would your desired relationship with money be? You got abundance, excited, aligned. I love that word. Yeah, freedom, empowered, ease, confident, luscious. Oh, that's juicy. I love that. No worries. Yeah. When it comes to our relationship with money, one thing that I've learned is that whether it is complicated and not in a good place, or wherever we are, we do have the ability to change it. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that. It feels like you're in the sludge and you can't, but I promise you, you can change your relationship with money. I have worked with so many people who have had these complicated relationships with money, and they got to the point where they're like, I really enjoy having dates with money now. I really enjoy tracking my numbers. And before we get to that point, we have to understand the things that prevent us from aligning with the energy of money. So I want to talk about those three things. And so, wait, trying to have all these things up on the screen is a lot of things. Okay, so the first thing that prevents us from aligning with the energy of money is believing that once we make a certain amount of money, we will feel safe. And the information about this shows that it is not true. And if it were true, every person who's made more than $250,000 would say that they feel safe with money, but it's not true at all. So according to it put 2002, I think it was a 2012, or 20, I think it was 2022, sorry. Ellevate survey, which y'all are familiar with, Ellevate, 75% of women who earn more than $250,000 annually feel like they don't have control of their money. And this survey also found that money is the primary source of stress for women, and more than half, like 59%, worry about money at least once a week. And that is because financial stress or financial peace is based on your relationship with money, not on your income. So again, your financial stress or peace is based on your relationship with money. And the number one thing for money, women making a lot of money, is that they wish that they didn't feel financial fear and anxiety. So people who don't have money feel fear around it, like of scarcity. But then a lot of people, when they get it, they fear losing it. So they're like, oh, I have it now. Now I got to hold on to it and hoard it. And when we dial into what the solution is to this, which is, is learning to live according to your sacred money archetype, which we're going to talk about today, and also connecting to the source, which the source isn't about money. The source is ourselves, our higher power. Money is just the symptom. Money is just a tool. And this isn't about the illusion that making more money is the answer, because we all know that having money does create safety. So we want to have more money, and we want to have more money in the hands of conscious people, because when we have money in the hands of conscious people, the world can change. I mean, I think we can probably all agree that there are things going on in the world that aren't so good right now and have been for the beginning of time. And a lot of times it's the people in power, the ones who have the money. And so we need to get to the place where we have more conscious people having money. It just has to happen. So the second thing that prevents people from aligning with the energy of money is not understanding your unique money personality. When we understand our unique relationship with money, we can learn how to align in our strengths instead of doing things the way that other people tell us to do them. How many of you have ever tried to do something with money or your business and somebody's like, you have to do it this way, and you did it and it didn't work for you? Yeah. I one time had a coach tell me, well, she's like, I've realized that you won't do things if you're not in alignment with it. And I'm thinking, isn't that everybody? Like, of course I'm not going to do it, right? But when we can understand who we are and align with that, things become easier. It flows so much better. And it helps us understanding our money personality, helps us to manage our finances in a way that aligns with your true self and your true values. And so I truly believe that embodying your money archetype is the key to unlocking the most success in life and business than you've ever dreamed of. Because we all have a relationship with money. It's how we experience money. And when we talk about wanting to grow our business or have a more fulfilling life, we're talking about more money, but not just making more money. It's about doing it in a way that feels aligned for you. And this work is so much more than money. So Kendall Summerhawk, the creator of the Sacred Money Archetypes, says, how you do money is how you do everything. And it is so true. One of my clients yesterday, we were on the phone and she's like, Heather, you know that this is so much bigger than money stuff, right? And I was like, of course, like I'm teaching this stuff, but it just hit her. She's like, I'm seeing this show up in so many areas of my life. So how we do money is how we do everything. And you'll start to see this as I go through the archetypes. So the third thing that prevents us from aligning with the energy of money is having a dysregulated nervous system. So we have to talk about first what a nervous system is before we can get into that. So your nervous system is the body's command center and communication all rolled into one. We have our vagus nerve, and our vagus nerve, in Greek, it means wander or traveler. So you'll see it like these nerves is travel all from the brain going all down and throughout your body. From your brain to your belly, and it regulates your digestion, blocks stress, causes happiness, supports immunity, optimizes your cardio health, and it takes readings from each organ and it passes that message from the brain like a neuronal superhighway. And 20% of our nerves run from our brain down to our body, and 80% run from your body to your brain. And so if you've ever done talk therapy, coaching, and you're like, why isn't this working? It's because those are all top-down approaches. We want to work with the 80%, do bottom-up approaches to change that 20%, because what's going on up here, our thoughts, our beliefs, like those are all symptoms of what's happening in our, what I'll say, our mind body. Okay? This is all one and the same, not so much our brain, but in our mind body. And so being able to get to what's in the body will shift our mindset. And that's where, when Crystal talked about doing energy work, I'm so passionate about that because it helps to move that energy out of the body. And so I want to tie this all into getting into alignment with money. How many of you have ever experienced stress around money? Yeah, somebody, yes. Okay. Everybody has at some point. So our emotional stress is like a roller coaster. We have the starting point, which is our activation. Well, where we are before something happens, and then we have an activation. And an activation is something that happens that creates disempowering emotions. You may have heard the word trigger before, and people are like, oh, that triggered me. I prefer to say that activated me, because when I say that triggered me, I am saying this other thing has power over me instead of saying something in me is activated that I want to give some attention to, right? So you may have gotten a bill and you're like, ugh, I can't pay this. Or somebody offers to pay you more than you ask and you're like, oh, I can't take this, right? So you get this activating event and you have a peak emotional experience, and then your body releases those emotions and you go to resolution. And so the peak is where you feel the most stressed out. Your heart's pounding, your palms are sweating, right? And then the release is just letting all that go. And ideally, that's what the process would look like. And we all know that it doesn't happen like that more often than not. More often than not, we have this activation, we have this high intensity of emotions, and then we do something to stop ourselves from feeling it, whether we turn to alcohol or drugs or food or caffeine, or, oh, let me pick up my phone and start scrolling and not feeling what I'm feeling, binge watching, immersing yourself in work or hobbies, intellectualizing your feelings versus actually feeling your feelings. And so the energy stays stuck in this point. So one of the things that you'll hear me say in the video series, if you've taken when you've taken the archetype quiz, it'll take you to a 4-part video series. You'll hear me say this quote over and over and over again. It's until we make the subconscious conscious, it will continue to direct our lives and we will call it fate. So many of these things that happen are what we would call traumas. And we can have big T traumas or little T traumas. Ooh, I want to go back to these. So big T traumas are these significant life-altering events that can deeply affect somebody's self-esteem and security and well-being. So when it comes to money, these are these traumas that leave these lasting scars on our financial mindset and behavior. So some examples of big T money traumas would be severe financial loss, like having a big loss of income, whether it's a business failure, stock market crash, being the victim of a financial scam, could be bankruptcy, right? The emotional and psychological impact and stress of going through bankruptcy can really be profound on somebody, depending on what their rules are about money and bankruptcy. And then another big T trauma would be foreclosure or eviction, because losing somebody's home due to financial difficulties is not only this substantial material loss, but it's also a distressing experience that can impact your sense of stability and safety. So those are big T traumas. And then we have little T traumas. And these are the ones that might not seem catastrophic on the surface, but their cumulative effects, like they build up and build up and build up, can significantly influence somebody's relationship with money. So these are more subtle, everyday experiences that can erode confidence and create anxiety around financial matters. So some of these could include, and again, this is not an exhaustive list, but just to get an idea, would be constant financial or consistent financial insecurity. So if you're growing up in a situation where money is always tight and there's this constant worry about paying the bills or affording necessities, and you've grown up like that, that's a nervous system imprint that you can take with you into your future. Another one could be witnessing financial struggles. When you watch your parents or close family members stress over finances, argue over money, or make significant sacrifices due to financial limitations, those are cumulative and add up over time. And there can also be these subtle messages or experiences. If you receive these messages growing up and as an adult, right, that money is scarce, or it's shame to want or desire money, right? Or you can be told and heard like, oh, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. You hear that over and over and over again. That adds up and creates your relationship with money. And so if we suppress these, they get stuck in our nervous system. And when something gets stuck in your nervous system, you'll keep finding ways to create that, because oops, I'm going to go back. I literally went through all these, made sure they were in the right order, and apparently I missed it. But your nervous system will always choose a familiar chaos over unfamiliar piece. So if you're like, I don't know why I keep doing the same thing over and over again, I don't want to do it. It's because that's the imprint in your nervous system. You may have heard it said, we'll always choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. And it's if those traumas aren't processed or the cycle hasn't been completed, we keep experiencing the same thing. And so this is why so many people can have a lot of money and still feel financial insecurity. And in order to align to the energy of money, we want to understand how we relate to money and to have a regulated nervous system that's free of these trapped emotions, this bound energy, so that our nervous system can feel safe and peaceful around money. And so I went through these. Healing your money trauma is the key to embodying your money archetype and unlocking the most success in life and business that you've ever dreamed of. So I want to take a pause here, and I want to just do a little nervous system tool to help if you're hearing talk about money and you're like, ugh, your nervous system might be feeling a little bit activated right now. I want to give you a quick tool that I love that is something that you've probably seen a little kid do, because we do it instinctually and we don't even think about it. But when we get activated, we want to do something to get our parasympathetic nervous system to kick in, and that's our rest and digest. And this is something so simple that you can do when you're in a meeting, anywhere. Nobody would really be like, what are you doing? Unless you did it for a really long time, then they might ask you. But it's very simple, and you can do it along with me, is you just take your thumb and your pointer finger and you just rub your ear. It's very simple. Just start at the bottom, work your way around, go all the way up the edges of your ear. Maybe take a deep breath in as you're doing it. And just notice what you feel as you're doing this. I have to do my other hand. The reason why this works is because the outer part of our ear has vagus nerve endings. And when they're stimulated through rubbing or massaging, it can activate your vagus nerve, right? And that sends signals to your body to initiate a relaxation response, which means lowering your heart rate, lowering your blood pressure, and just overall calming your nervous system. And so it helps you just shift from a state of stress to a more relaxed state of parasympathetic activation. So, and before we got on here, I could feel myself getting excited, and I started rubbing my ear, and I was like, oh, I do it oftentimes without even like thinking of it. So I want to stop sharing for a minute, and I want to, if we can go out into a breakout rooms, and just for 2 minutes. Oh, I'm glad that you like that tip. Is it Richa? I don't want to mispronounce it. I always hate mispronouncing your names, but yeah, it's so easy to do under any circumstances. So what I want to do, if we can go in a breakout room and maybe 2 to 3 people, and know this may be a little bit vulnerable. And if you don't feel safe sharing it, you don't at all have to. You can just witness the other person. And I want you to just share, what is a money trauma that you've experienced, whether it's a big T money trauma or a little T money trauma. Knowing that when we bring things to the light, shame can't hide anywhere. And when we can bring it to the light, it normalizes it. And we hear other people's stories and we realize, oh, I'm not the only one. So you just share a money trauma or traumas that you may have experienced. So,
You ready, Catherine, with the breakout rooms?
Sorry, unmute. Yes, I'm ready. I'm going to hit create right now.
Okay.
so
And
while
how do you get into breakout room? Oh, okay, join it. Got it.
And so Catherine, if we can just do like a minute, are you able to do like a minute warning and then like a minute to like say switch and then?
Yeah, I didn't see the option to have the countdown when I did it though.
You have to do it before the breakout rooms start, so we'll have to wait until the next time.
Okay, my bad, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually looks like Holly,
I saw it all.
let me mute her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So is this our breakout room? I had selected so that there were 2 to 3 per room. We have,
Oops, actually, I just had to. Why can't I'm trying to mute Holly and I muted everybody because I couldn't find an option to do that. So go ahead and unmute yourself, Catherine and Brittany and Heather.
oh, I was saying, I had selected for there to be 2 to 3 people per room, but we have 5 people here. I'm not sure. That's because.
Well, that's because we didn't,
kinda
like,
like
the one
Trying to.
not.
I hit not now when it said to go into a breakout room, just to
Yeah.
say.
Okay,
There was the
Gotcha.
box we talked about to uncheck to leave the co-hosts in, that you didn't uncheck that, so. it put all-
I can't mute
my
Holly.
first,
I know,
my
I
first
can't
breakout room.
either. I don't know why. There we go.
I just removed her.
You just removed her.
I don't think it's her though. Is it somebody else? It was, oh, I think it's Catherine because she just muted and now I don't hear it.
Oh, do you have background people by you, Catherine? Yeah, okay, somebody been going from, oh, well,
Oh, poor
Catherine,
Holly. I hope she
she'll
can
come back in. She didn't go into her breakout room, so.
So Catherine, if maybe you could give them a 30-second warning to come back and have them come back in about 45 seconds.
Yeah, or we can use the broadcast message for that, or do you want me to do that, Catherine?
Yeah, I see that broadcast message. Let's see. Broadcast message. Okay. Going back to big
You
group.
broadcast the
Yeah,
message,
like-
you can type it and say 30 minutes, 30 seconds, and then.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, so now I'm stuck in the middle because.
This is Catherine's first time playing with the manning the breakout rooms. So, the only way to learn it though is to do it.
Exactly.
And then we can
I-
just manually close them all when we're about ready. So,
It's like.
Okay, ready to close them?
doing it now. It's gonna-
Yeah, go ahead.
The first year that we're. So. Yeah.
oh, when you do, it still gives it a minute. Okay, it's good to know.
Yeah.
So it gives it a minute to count down. So at least.
So I'm going to share this, that's something that came up for me the other day. I was doing a session with somebody and I realized that this was like a session for me, like I was the client. And I realized when I was a kid, I had this Barbie dream pool and a family friend was having a yard sale and I wanted to sell it. And I asked my mom to sell it for X amount of money. And my mom sold it for like way less than I did. And it just pissed me off so much at the time. And I realized that the belief that I chose to believe then was that my voice, like what I say doesn't matter when it comes to money and I can't ask for what I want. And I was like, oh, it is such a little thing, but it's a big thing that stuck with me for so long.
Well, especially when we're younger, because our brainwaves are in that more hypnotic state. And so those little things like get inked into our brains.
Yes.
Welcome
Yeah.
back, everyone. Just a couple minutes. Did anybody want to share with the big group any big ahas real quick before Heather jumps back in? Feel free to just unmute yourself and hop in. If not.
I just felt like we needed more time.
Needed more time.
We're just getting into like the meat of it.
I
Okay.
know, sorry.
Well, we can use that then. That's a good, as you guys know, when we do our networking event in 2 weeks, we can then come back to these topics and use them for greater discussion for our networking then. So that's good to know. But okay,
Yeah.
well, because I know Heather still has a bunch of stuff and we want to get through that and honor everybody's time. So why don't you go ahead and continue, Heather, with
Okay. So okay, we know that we need to heal our relationship and our money trauma. And we're going to talk about the archetypes now and look at the way that they experience dysregulation. And you can start to see with each of these how, with your archetype, what that might look like as far as how the money trauma affected you. And so we're going to, oh, and also I want to say this, if you haven't taken the quiz, no big deal. As you listen to them, you'll be like, oh, that's me, or that's not me. And also think about people in your life and think about, your closest relationships. And oftentimes these give us clues of like, oh, this is why this person drives me crazy. This is why I can't deal with them when it comes to money stuff or just in life stuff, because we all have these predictable patterns of behavior. So first, we're going to dive into the accumulator, and the accumulator is the banker. They're the fiscally savvy, love-saving money member of the archetype family. They are the frugal deal seeker who often fear running out of money, and they get stuck in analysis paralysis. Of the 8 archetypes, they are the most responsible with money. So some of their empowering traits are that they're great at saving money. They're responsible with money. They love spreadsheets and tracking money. They're great at dealing with details. They research before purchasing anything. Some of their disempowering traits are they never think that they have enough money to feel safe. I had this client who was leaving her job. She was afraid to leave her job. She's like, I only have $150,000 in savings. And I'm like, I know some people that would be like, oh, I could totally do that, right? But she's an accumulator. So they never think they have enough money to feel safe. They can be extremely frugal. As I mentioned already, they get stuck in analysis paralysis. They won't start things until everything is perfect. And they can be skeptical and suspicious of others. When their nervous system is dysregulated, some of the things that they do, they hoard money. They become rigid in their money habits, excessively saving and holding on to money because of fear. They avoid help from other people because they feel ashamed or inadequate that they need help. And they can micromanage because they feel this overwhelming need for exactness when things get out of control. Their big lesson with money is to respect the power of money by investing to create freedom. When you invest to create freedom versus investing to avoid scarcity, it's a completely different energy that you're going to experience. And so for them, their money code is to say yes to opportunities because opportunities create wealth. They will get stuck in that analysis paralysis and be like, I can't make a decision. And so for them to say yes to opportunities is a big lesson for them. So then we have the alchemist, and the alchemist is the idea generator. They are the inner idealist. They're the sometimes woo-woo crunchy girl or guy, and they're the out of the box thinker who has this love-hate relationship with money. They are great at seeing the magic in other people and believing in everybody else. But sometimes they get stuck in monetizing their own ideas, and they always end up attracting money in unusual ways. Of all the 8 archetypes, they have the most magical relationship with money. They love playing in the world of possibilities, and they dream big. They attract money easily. And as I mentioned, they're great at seeing the possibilities for other people and cheering them on. Their disempowering traits is that they struggle to believe that success is possible for them. They can see it for everybody else and be like, you can do this. I believe in you, cheer them on. But if you put a mirror in front of them, they'd be like, nope, can't do it for me. So they really struggle with believing that they can be successful. They're really just not that interested in money. as I mentioned, they have this love-hate relationship with money. They love it for the change that it can create in the world, but they also hate it for the ways that it's been used to harm people. And they also struggle with follow through because they got this great idea. And then they have this other great idea. And they have this other great idea. So they've started 20 great ideas, but they haven't finished any of them. I see some smiles, so I'm guessing some people can relate to that one. Ways to tell that their nervous system is dysregulated. Escapist behavior. They could engage in behaviors like daydreaming or seeking distractions to cope with feelings of anxiety. They can, if you find yourself or other people that you know being inconsistent, right? As I mentioned, it's let me do this, let me do this, let me do this, because they end up being erratic in their behavior, which creates instability. And then they ignore practicality. They may disregard practical considerations, prioritizing their ideals and visions over realistic outcomes. They are the ones who have these big ideals and ideas about how things should be, and sometimes they can get stuck in those. And so their big lesson with money is to transform their ideas into financial success and to learn to get paid for their ideas, not their follow through. Their ideas are their gold. The alchemist is the person to go to when you're like, I want to do something, but I'm not quite sure how to do it. Go to the alchemist. They'll be like, you can do this, 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 and this. So then we have the celebrity, and the celebrity is the inner star. They're the magnetic, confident, radiant personality that everyone can't help but want to be around. They love the spotlight and they appreciate the doors that money can open. And of the 8 archetypes, they have the most joyful and generous relationship with money. So some of their empowering traits are that they're a charismatic leader. They're the ones that just have that it thing that people just follow. And you're like, I don't know what it is, but there's just something about them. They love being in the spotlight. They're the ones that say, hey, you want to go give this talk in front of, 500 people? They're like, sure, absolutely. Like they don't think anything of it. They love money, as I mentioned already. They're not afraid to work with it. Where some of the other archetypes are afraid of being called greedy or like thinking that they're just about the money, the celebrity has no problem using money to open any doors that they want opened. And their disempowering traits is that they overspend to impress others. They oftentimes forget to pay their bills because, it's just kind of boring. Why would I want to do that? That's not fun. That's not sexy. And they can have a tendency to live a champagne lifestyle on a beer budget. So ways to tell that their nervous system is dysregulated is exaggerated spending, because their desire for attention and validation can lead to impulsive and excessive spending to maintain their image. And they might prioritize maintaining their public image over practical financial responsibilities, leading to the neglect of essential tasks in life and business. And they're just going to neglect the practical things because, again, not fun, not sexy to them. And they can overextend themselves. They might commit to too many social events or projects in an attempt to maintain their social status, leading to burnout and exhaustion. So their big lesson with money is to accumulate wealth while being admired and valued for who you are, not for what you have. And the way that they can do this is that by the more that they love, accept, and believe in themselves, the more money that they make versus loving and accepting and believing in the things that I have. Then we have the connector. And the connector is the inner relationship builder. They are the counselor, the cheerleader, the problem solver who freely gives away their time, ideas, and advice and believes that they're always going to be taken care of. Of the 8 archetypes, the connector has the most complex relationship with money because they just wish it didn't exist. So they just rather not think about money, and they struggle to charge for their services because everybody becomes their new best friend. And I think I got to go back in the chat. was it Kate say that somebody said had a connector in there and it was like, but everything's close together. If you have connector in your top 3, you'll probably notice that your scores are really close for a majority of them. And that's because the connector tends to be the chameleon of the group, and they can connect with all of the archetypes. I know for me, when I first learned this, I'm an absolute connector, and I read all of the challenges of all the other archetypes, and I was like, yes, 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 yes. Like I just connected with all of them. And so if you're a connector, hey, you again, yeah, Dr. Amos said, yep, me. So if you're a connector, you just get to be able to connect with all of them, and know that if you connect with the disempowering traits, that means you can also connect with the empowering traits, and we all can, but the connector just has the ability to do it a little bit more than some of the others. So their empowering traits is that, as I mentioned, they're the counselors and cheerleaders of others. They can see the best in anybody, and they want to make sure that everybody feels welcome. They are all about inclusion. They're the ones that can see in a room somebody who doesn't feel like they fit in, and they're going to go and talk to them and help them feel welcome. The connectors are always looking for ways to help people solve their problems or fulfill their dreams by connecting them with resources. And their disempowering traits is that they give time, energy, and solutions away freely. They know something and somebody's like, oh, I want to learn that. They're like, okay, I'll sit here and share this with you, even though it's a thing that I want to do to make a living by, but it's okay. I'll give it away for free. Everyone, as I mentioned, they meet becomes their new best friend. So they just don't want to charge them at all. And the interesting thing about this too is that if one of their friends charges them, they'll be like, well, of course I would pay you. I want to pay you for what you do. But they struggle to receive it on their own. And they fear being accused of being salesy, so they resist putting their work out in the world. Ways that you can tell that their nervous system is dysregulated is they overextend themselves. Their desire to help and support others can lead them to neglecting their own needs and well-being. They are people pleasers because they just want to maintain peace, and oftentimes at the expense of their own boundaries. And they avoid conflict because, again, they're all about relationships, and they think that if they avoid conflict, they will maintain the relationships. So their big lesson with money is to create financial independence through the value of relationships. And this means that the more comfortable that they get with money, the more that they empower themselves. So I just want to take a breath break before we dive into the next 4. Just want to tell me in the chat, are any of these relating to you so far? We still have 4 more, but which ones? Supergate, feeling called out. Girl, I hear you. I hear you. Connector, yes, the accumulator. Maverick, accumulator, nurture. Yeah, we're going to get to the Maverick next, but that's a fun combination. Maverick, accumulator, nurture, and alchemist. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. See, the connectors are like, yep, I can relate to those. Okay. So now we're going to go on to the Maverick. And the Maverick is the rebel with a cause. They are the ones that want to be fully alive and express their authentic truths. They want to help heal the world, even if it means shaking things up. And not even if it means, because they love shaking things up. Like they kind of get off on shaking things up. Like they love doing that. They believe that manifesting their dreams is possible, but they sometimes struggle with making progress because they get bored with what's working. So they'll burn it down to the ground and start something new. In my experience, many of the entrepreneurs that I work with have Maverick in their top ones. Of the 8 archetypes, they have the most exciting relationship with money. It's kind of like being on this roller coaster where they experience extreme financial highs and lows, and they're here for it all. Their empowering traits are that they see things that are unfair and not working, and they're not afraid to call it out and change it. They have bold ideas. They are the ones that completely revolutionize industries, and they're the champions of the underdogs. Their disempowering traits are that they get bored easily and they'll burn things to the ground. They can be attracted to get rich quick opportunities, and they're also like don't tell me what to do. I'm going to figure it out on my own, which sometimes can kind of screw them over because there is a faster way to do it, but they want to figure it out themselves. And so Deborah says, me, Maverick-ish. Yeah. I want to just scroll up. Brittany. Yeah, I can see that. Brittany. Yeah. So ways to tell that the Maverick's nervous system is dysregulated is their impulsivity. Their spontaneous nature might escalate, leading to impulsive decisions without considering consequences. They can be reckless because they have this risk-taking behavior that makes them prone to making reckless choices in life and business, and their excessive rebellion. Their desire to go against norms and expectations might intensify, leading to rebellion for the sake of rebellion. Even if it's not in their best interest, they're going to do it just to be a rebel. And their big lesson with money is to know that they can stand out from the crowd while taking the easy route, investing in the tried and the true. Mavericks want to do things on their own, but you can stand out more as a maverick if there's tried and true things. Like, take that route and you'll stand out so much more. So that means living life on their own terms by taking calculated risks and planning for financial security. So then we have the nurturer, and the nurturer is the loving helper, the kind, loving person who's always caring for other people. They have the most loving and caring relationship with money. They are kind, they are generous, they're loyal, they're reliable, they're responsible for their personal finances. They give generously to help other people. They do have a tendency towards people pleasing. They often attract people who need their help financially or otherwise, and they sacrifice their own needs for other people. Ways to tell that their nervous system is dysregulated: they have trouble setting boundaries because they just want to care for everybody else. They also have difficulty saying no because, again, they just want to care for everybody else. They want to keep the peace. Even if they're overwhelmed, they'll still say yes to doing something, even though internally they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. And when they're dysregulated, that can lead to a heightened anxiety and worry, especially about the well-being of people that they care for. So their big lesson with money is creating clear money boundaries. Creating clear money boundaries, that's a way to demonstrate care for others. And this means by empowering, I care for others by empowering myself. The more empowered you are as a nurturer, the more you can empower others. Okay, we got two more. We got the romantic is the inner leisure and luxury lover. They're all about enjoying the pleasures of life. They're the go with the flow dreamer. They inspire other people to slow down, savor the moment, and just breathe. Of all of the archetypes, they have the most laid back relationship with money. They are luxuriant, abundant, pleasure seeking. They embody abundance, pleasure, and living in the moment. They're generous towards others, and they just believe that everything is always going to work out. And they only like to work when the mood strikes. They give up easily if things get too hard, and they get bored with details about things because it's just not enjoyable. When they're dysregulated, they can seek pleasure to avoid discomfort, which can lead to unhealthy escapism. They have impulsive decisions because they oftentimes think about the here and now instead of long-term consequences. And they can sometimes go into excessive self-indulgence as a way to seek temporary relief from emotional discomfort. So their big lesson with money is to use the energy of money to enjoy the best of life and create financial security, which means creating and embracing a secure financial future. That is the way that you as a romantic can enjoy the best of life. So we got one more, and this is the ruler. The ruler is the empire builder. They are the visionary go-getters who know exactly what they want, and they are motivated to make it happen. Of all the archetypes, they have the most motivated relationship with money because they can make anything happen and manifest money whenever they want. They're self-motivated, ambitious, they take action, they can see ways to make money everywhere, and they inspire other people to do what seems impossible. On the disempowering side is that they're always chasing a moving money target, so they may get to their goal and be like, oh, that's not enough, need more. So they're rarely satisfied with what they do accomplish, and they don't celebrate wins. and they get frustrated when things don't happen quickly. They have an idea they want it done yesterday, last week, last month. When they're dysregulated, they overwork, they will push themselves and push themselves. Ask a ruler what they do for fun, and they'll say work. And you say, no, what do you do for fun? And they're like, I work, because they love working. They tend to bottle up their emotions and their stress, which leads to physical and emotional strain, and they avoid help because I could do it myself. So their big lesson with money is to innovate and achieve and empower with grace and ease, which means that they can fulfill their financial destiny with grace and ease. Okay, so take a big deep breath in and let out a big exhale. We just covered a lot. So I'm wondering, because we only have a couple minutes left, I know I have some extra time to go over if other people want to stay on. So just want to check in, Crystal, if we want to go to breakout rooms, or do we want to just do, let's just do a group chat now.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do a group chat with whatever your question is? Just a reminder, we just put links for our next events in the chat. So please make sure you are registered, and especially for our networking in 2 weeks, because we will bring these questions back in for greater discussion, since the discussion's been really, really good. But yeah, what would you like us to discuss, Heather?
Yeah, well, I have so many questions here, and I'll share them with you so that you can share them. But I guess let's talk about strengths, and how do your top archetypes show up in a way that serves you in your business? So we always want to talk about challenges, right? Sometimes let's go on a high note. How does your archetype actually serve you in your business? It may be the reason why you created the business that you do, or what you do.
So Heather, I was actually tied for Maverick and Ruler. I had 26 for both of them. And I would say the Ruler has been like the maturity of me and my business, where I can make sure that my business and my life gets what it needs. Like I can create money. And also I definitely see opportunities everywhere. So if it seems impossible, I'm like, nope, we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen.
That's awesome. That is amazing. That is such a great trait to have. And I will say this too, for anybody who's like, oh, I don't have that. Like, archetype envy is a real thing. And every archetype has great traits that allow them to be successful in business. So please don't.
I was going to say, Christelle had her hand raised to share. Also.
Thanks, Crystal and Hazel. I know, Christelle, it's so I'm an accumulator, and I've really been accumulating saving money while still enjoying life. But I guess I had the feeling I would need it at one point, and I did, because I resigned a few years ago and starting my business, and it's a long way. I wasn't fully prepared for it, but I feel safe having that saving on the side that allows me to live properly while I develop my business, and to take the time to develop that business and to think about it. So it's both sides of the accumulator. Yeah, it's saving for in case, but I'm using that in case at the moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's that like investing for freedom. It sounds like you're doing that very beautifully. Yeah. And I want to hear from other people too, but I dropped in the links. If anybody wants to just get on a call with me, and if you're like, oh, I really need help in my relationship with money, we can I drop the link there to schedule a 30-minute call, and we can talk about that. But who else wants to share? How does your archetype show up in your relationship with money?
Halpa had her hand raised.
Hi, Crystal. Heather, this was super helpful, like particularly just seeing the little trauma, big trauma, and then the money archetype. So for me, I am a Maverick accumulator. I forgot the list already, but there are like 4, I think 2 are tied. And from a Maverick perspective, I really work with women. My business is around helping transformation and actually healing on this planet. And that's very much like breaking down things where there's shame and stigma and doesn't work. So it was very interesting for me to see like how my money archetype is actually showed up in how I've created the business. That was absolutely an insight. Yeah, I'm definitely, like, as you were saying, describing, I'm like, oh, that's me. Like, don't tell me what to do, right? And then also, like connection. I was surprised my connector score. Connection is one of my key values, but connection was still high 17, but not as compared to the other 4 that were like all in 25 or more. So yeah, it's super insightful. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it shows up in everywhere, in every area of your life. You can look at this and be like, oh, I see how this is showing up in my relationships, in how I parent. It's crazy. It's crazy how much it shows up everywhere. I just want to go because there's a question. Sarah asked, does the archetype shift as your relationship with money changes? So it shifts more into going from disempowering traits to empowering. It's just like any personality assessment. Like we have these patterns and ways of being. So somebody who's a connector, it's just natural that they're going to want to connect with people. Like that's just going to span throughout their whole life. Right. And they may say maybe the maverick is their lowest one. They don't want to like create waves or anything. As their money relationship grows, they may get better at connecting with people to create change, but they're not going to go and be the maverick, like create disruption the way that a maverick would. And so as your relationship with money grows, you grow more into the embodied traits or the empowering traits versus the disempowering traits. Does that make sense? Hopefully. And then should I lean more into the archetype that I resonate with more or the quiz results? Definitely what you resonate with more, because at the end of the day, you know more than any of them, and you're going to know what you connect with more. And there are things, when I work with people in my course about this, we talk about how to step into the energies of other archetypes. And a quiz is just a quiz. Sometimes we answer the questions that the answers can be a little bit skewed. I know some people would want to go back and they're like, oh, I want to retake it. And I'm like, don't bother. Just read them, see which ones you resonate with and go with that. And it's not about so much labeling ourselves. It's just really being able to understand our empowering and disempowering traits, because we have to understand them and know them before we can shift and change them. So it's just bringing awareness. So if you got a quiz result and you're like, I don't really feel like that, I connect more with this, different things could have been going on when you took it, and just look at the empowering traits of the one that you're like, yeah, I feel like I really align with that more, and just live in that more. Does that make sense?
Yep. No, definitely.
Yes, thank you so much.
And I love though, I mean, that whole idea for some of the archetypes saying, you're telling me I took the quiz and I can throw out the results and use whatever thing feels right? That's just wrong, right?
Yeah. And I want to Richa, and sorry, Richa, if I'm not pronouncing that right, I apologize.
No, you got it perfect. That's
Got it.
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So the question was, are certain combinations more favorable in, like, for example, in business partnerships? No. And I will say this, as I mentioned, like there's this archetype envy. Like I know when I first got it, and I do this when I read my clients and I look at their personality types, I'm like, man, that's so awesome. I wish I had that. I still get caught up in that, right? But at the end of the day, every single archetype has their own empowering traits. And so each partnership has something different that they bring to it. And it's just like, when you can understand each of them and say, this is what I bring to this partnership, this is what I bring to this partnership, how can we merge it together, right? Because if you have 2 rulers, right, in partnership, oh, that can be tricky, right? But you have somebody who's got a ruler and a nurturer, right? If the nurturer is in there empowered and sets boundaries, right, and doesn't let somebody walk all over them, that can be a beautiful partnership. And so so the answer is all of them can be really great for anything. There are women who make multiple 7 figures that are nurturers. Or accumulators who, again, same thing, who live in freedom of their money and not in fear of it. All of them have their disempowering and all of them have their empowering traits.
Love that. Thank you. That's very helpful. Thanks for the clarity.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
while we have her. Did you pop the link for the quiz in the chat also?
I will pop that in again.
And also, I highly recommend anyone who's interested in finding out more, take advantage of this free consultation that Heather's offering, to learn more about this and everything. So, thank you very much, Heather. This has been amazing. And yes, please give us those other questions, and we will use those questions in 2 weeks for our networking. And you're welcome to come in and join if you want to. We do kind of 3 rounds of intentional networking, not just introductions, but layering on really valid and valuable discussion topic with it. But please make sure you RSVP for the rest of our events. Next month, we have 85 Broads, the original organization founder, Janet Hansen, coming to talk to us about building our businesses like as a woman. In July, just so you know, the July 4th falls on our normal meeting date for a speaker. We will not be doing a speaker in July, but we will still be doing networking. So those links are there. Also, if you've been to our last couple of sessions, we were playing around with sharing songs that empower us, and Valerie Chael was really amazing and put together a Spotify playlist for us, and that just went into the chat too. So if you're a Spotify user and you want some empowering music, please feel free to go ahead and access that playlist. And yeah, it's been an amazing event. Thank you for those of you who were able to stick around as we went longer, and look forward to seeing you guys in 2 more weeks.